Things are getting tighter now as we come down the final stretch. Here's where we stand in the NFL heading into Week 16. We start with the playoff picture in the AFC, where as of today, the number one seed and the first round bye would go to the Kansas City Chiefs. Our 2 versus 7 will be Buffalo and LA. Our 3 versus 6, Pittsburgh and Denver. And our 4 versus 5, Houston and Baltimore. Now we head over to the NFC, where as of today, the number one seed and the first round bye would go to the Detroit Lions. Our 2 versus 7 will be Philadelphia and Washington. Our 3 versus 6, Tampa Bay and Green Bay. And our 4 versus 5, LA and Minnesota. And now it's time to talk scenarios, and boy oh boy do we have a ton of them this week. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. So far, 7 teams have clinched their spot in the playoffs. 5 more can join them this week. Plus, 2 divisions have the chance to be clinched. And also, 9 teams have already been eliminated. 7 more could bow out this week. Let's start with the clinch scenarios. First up, it's the Baltimore Ravens, who can clinch their spot in the playoffs with a win or losses by the Colts and Dolphins. So a Ravens win or losses by Indianapolis and Miami, and Baltimore is in the playoffs for the 3rd straight season. Up next, we have the Denver Broncos, who can punch their ticket with a win or losses by the Bengals, Colts, and Dolphins. So a Broncos win or losses by Cincinnati, Indianapolis, and Miami, and Denver is in the playoffs for the first time since 2015. Up next, we have the Los Angeles Chargers, who can clinch their spot with a win and losses by the Colts and Dolphins. So a Chargers win plus losses by Indianapolis and Miami, and LA is going dancing. Up next, it's the Green Bay Packers, back for the 2nd week in a row. This time, they don't need a tie to clinch. Instead, what they do need is a win or a Falcons loss and a loss by either the Seahawks or the Rams. So a Packers win or an Atlanta loss and a loss by either Seattle or LA, and Green Bay is in the playoffs for the 2nd year in a row. And last but not least, we have the Washington Commanders, who can clinch their spot this week with a win, a Falcons loss, and a loss by either the Seahawks or the Rams. So a Commanders win, an Atlanta loss, and a loss by either Seattle or LA, and Washington is in the playoffs for the first time since 2020. And now for our 2 divisions on the line. First up, the Philadelphia Eagles can clinch the NFC East with a win. The Pittsburgh Steelers find themselves in an equally simple scenario this week. If they win, they're the champions of the AFC North. And additionally, the Kansas City Chiefs can wrap up the 1 seed in the AFC with a win and a Bills loss. And now, the moment most of you have been waiting for, let's see who's on Uberwatch this week. First up, it's the Dallas Cowboys, back for the 2nd week in a row. This time around, they'd be eliminated with a loss or a Commanders win. So a Cowboys loss or a Washington win, and Dallas is out of the playoffs for the first time since 2020. Up next, we have the Arizona Cardinals, who could be knocked out with a loss and a Rams win. So a Cardinals loss and an LA win, and Arizona misses the playoffs for the 3rd year in a row. Next up, we got the New Orleans Saints, who could be eliminated with a loss or a win by the Buccaneers or the Falcons. So a Saints loss, a Tampa Bay win, or an Atlanta win, and New Orleans is missing the playoffs for the 4th straight season. Up next, we have the San Francisco 49ers, and strap in, ladies and gentlemen, because this one's a doozy. See, there's 2 ways the Niners could get knocked out this week. Scenario number 1, they lose, they're out, simple as that. But what if the Niners win on Sunday? How could they still get eliminated? Well, in the event of the Niners win, one of these situations would have to happen. Between the Commanders, the Seahawks, and the Rams, 2 of them would have to win, or the Cardinals and the Commanders win, or the Falcons win and the Seahawks, the Cardinals, or the Rams win. So if any of that happens or the Niners just lose, San Francisco is out of the playoffs for the first time since 2020. Up next, we have the Miami Dolphins, and thankfully, this one's a lot more simple. All that would need to happen is a loss and a Chargers win, and Miami is out of the playoffs for the first time since 2021. Coming up next, we have the Indianapolis Colts, and here it's 2nd verse, same as the first. They'd be knocked out with a loss and a Chargers win. So a Colts loss and an LA win, and Indianapolis misses the playoffs for the 4th year in a row. And last up, it's the Cincinnati Bengals, back for the 2nd week in a row. This time around, they'd be knocked out as simple as a loss. So a Bengals loss, and Cincinnati is out of the playoffs for the 2nd straight season. So with all of that being said, think your team's getting in? Let me know in the comments.